You wake up before the world does. Before the noise. Before the expectations. Before anyone can ask anything of you. There's a specific kind of stillness that lives here. Not empty. Not lonely. Just untouched. The kind of quiet that hasn't been shaped by other people yet. The air feels different at that hour. Thinner. Kinder. Like it hasn't learned how to carry weight yet. You breathe more slowly without trying. Your thoughts don't stack on top of each other. They drift. They stretch. Nothing is chasing you. It doesn't rush you. It doesn't demand answers. It doesn't ask who you are or what you plan to do with the day. You don't have to explain yourself to the morning. You don't have to be impressive. You don't have to perform coherence or confidence. You just exist. There is something deeply comforting in that quiet. Almost sacred. Like you've stepped into a room where voices are not allowed. Like the world is still holding its breath. The day feels young then. Unwritten. Forgiving. It hasn't hardened yet. Hasn't closed its doors. Hasn't reminded you of everything you didn't finish yesterday. In these moments, time feels generous. Like it's offering you space instead of taking it. You move gently. Carefully. As if you might startle the calm if you're not respectful. Every small sound feels louder. The hum of the refrigerator. The soft click of a kettle. Your own footsteps. And instead of irritating you, those sounds ground you. They prove you're here. Alive. Awake in a way that feels intentional. You might sit with a cup of coffee or tea. Hands wrapped around warmth. Staring out at a sky that's still deciding what color it wants to be. You might not think about anything important at all. And that's the point. This is a space where nothing is required of you. Where your worth is not measured by output. Where your value isn't tied to how quickly you respond. It feels like borrowed peace. Like you found it before anyone else noticed it was there. And maybe you've told yourself, this is just preference. That you're just a morning person. You say it casually, lightly, as if it explains everything. Disciplined. Motivated. Built different. You like the way those words sound together. They feel solid. They feel respectable. They suggest strength. Control. A kind of quiet superiority that doesn't need to be announced. You might even feel proud of it. Of your ability to rise while others sleep. Of your consistency. Of your reliability. You might tell yourself this is about efficiency. About making the most of the day. About getting ahead. But if you're honest, the early hours give you something productivity never could. They give you permission. Permission to be unobserved. Unmeasured. Uninterrupted. Here, no one can disappoint you yet. No one can misunderstand you yet. No one can pull you into conversations you don't have the energy to navigate. You haven't been placed in a role yet. You haven't been assigned expectations. You haven't been asked to explain who you are. The day hasn't started telling you what it wants. And there's relief in that. You might notice how your shoulders drop without you asking them to. How your jaw unclenches. How your thoughts soften around the edges. This isn't just preference. It's regulation. Your body recognizes this time as safe. You don't need to be vigilant here. You don't need to be sharp or fast or emotionally prepared. Nothing is happening yet. And nothing happening feels like a gift. The quiet becomes a container. It holds you. It steadies you. You may not have language for this. You may have never questioned it. You may have simply followed the pull without asking why. But bodies remember things minds forget. They remember what it felt like to be overwhelmed. To be needed too much. To be surprised by demands without warning. They remember moments when silence disappeared too quickly. When peace was interrupted. When rest came with consequences. So they gravitate toward what feels predictable. Toward what feels calm. Toward what feels like control. The early morning offers all of that without asking questions. Here you can move at your own pace. You can ease into yourself. You can gather your thoughts before the world scatters them. It feels like arriving somewhere early enough to choose your seat, to orient yourself, to prepare. And preparation can feel like safety. You might not consciously think about it this way. You might simply know that mornings make you feel better, clearer, more grounded. But under that clarity is something quieter. A deep sense of relief that no one is watching yet. You don't have to be on. You don't have to respond correctly. You don't have to anticipate emotional shifts. The world is still asleep. And in that sleep, it can't ask anything of you. So you stay here as long as you can. You stretch the minutes. You savor the stillness. You let yourself believe, if only briefly, that this is what life is supposed to feel like. Soft, manageable, kind. And maybe you've never stopped to wonder why this matters so much to you. Why these hours feel essential, not optional. Why missing them feels unsettling. Why sleeping through them leaves you slightly off balance. You might tell yourself it's habit, or discipline, or preference. But beneath that explanation is a nervous system that learns something very early. That peace exists in the quiet. That safety arrives before others do. That calm is something you reach first, before it disappears. And even now, even when your life looks stable, even when nothing is technically wrong, your body still remembers. So you wake up before the world does. Not because you have to. Not because you're superior. Not because you're built different. But because in these hours, nothing hurts yet. And for a moment, that feels like enough. You wear it like a quiet badge of honor. A private strength. Something that makes you feel steady in a world that rarely is. But let's slow down for a moment. Not to criticize. Not to diagnose. Just to listen. Because sometimes, loving the early hours isn't about productivity at all. It's about safety. When you wake up early, the day hasn't had the chance to hurt you yet. No emails waiting with sharp edges. No unread messages that could change your mood. No subtle disappointments disguised as normal conversation. No one needs you yet. No one is disappointed in you yet. No one has misunderstood you yet. Just you. And control. And control can feel like relief. When unpredictability once felt like danger. Psychology calls this a coping mechanism. Not in a judgmental way. Just a human one. A coping mechanism isn't a flaw. It's a strategy. Something you learned when you were younger. To help yourself feel okay. When things once felt uncertain, overwhelming, or emotionally unsafe. You didn't choose it consciously. Your body did. For some people, early mornings are where their nervous system finally exhales. The shoulders drop. The jaw loosens. The mind quiets just enough to breathe. This is what regulation feels like. Not happiness. Not excitement. Just the absence of threat. If you grew up needing to be alert, emotionally aware, reading the room before you spoke, watching for shifts in tone, mood, or silence, your body may have learned that being awake first meant being prepared. Prepared to adapt. Prepared to perform. Prepared to protect yourself. There may have been a time when sleeping deeply wasn't safe. When rest meant vulnerability. When you learned that things happened without warning. So your system adjusted. This is where attachment comes in. Attachment is simply how we learn to feel safe with other people. Or how we learn not to. It's the blueprint we formed early on. About whether the world responds when we need something. Whether comfort arrives consistently. Whether love feels steady or conditional. If care was inconsistent. If attention came and went. If affection felt unpredictable or earned. Your nervous system adapted. Not because it wanted to. Because it had to. You became attuned. Self-reliant. Quietly vigilant. You became the one who arrives early instead. Early to wake. Early to prepare. early to anticipate. Because arriving early meant fewer surprises. Fewer moments of being caught off guard. Fewer chances to be disappointed. Your inner child, the part of you that still remembers, may believe that rest is risky. That sleeping in means missing something important. That if you're not alert, something could go wrong. That peace only exists before everyone else wakes up and starts needing things. So you rise quietly. You claim the dawn. You move softly through the house, careful not to disturb the stillness you depend on. You tell yourself this is discipline. And in a way it is. But underneath, it might be devotion to survival. Devotion to the version of you who learned early on. That calm had to be created, not expected. There's nothing wrong with you for this. In fact, it shows how resourceful you were, how observant, how capable. You found a way to carve out safety inside a world that once felt unpredictable. You didn't numb yourself. You didn't give up. You adjusted. But coping mechanisms, even gentle ones, can quietly turn into rules. Unspoken contracts with yourself. I can rest once everything is handled. I can relax once the day begins on my terms. I can feel safe as long as I stay ahead. And eventually, you may notice something subtle. That even in the quiet mornings, part of you is still bracing, still monitoring, still scanning the horizon. Shadow work asks us to look at this gently, not to shame it, not to get rid of it, just to understand it. The shadow isn't something bad. It's the part of you that learned in the dark, the part that adapted when there was no guide. When you sit with it honestly, you may realize you don't wake up early because you hate rest. You wake up early because silence once meant safety, because being ahead once meant being okay, because calm used to be temporary, and you learned to catch it before it disappeared. And there may be grief there. Quiet grief. The kind that doesn't announce itself. Grief for the version of you who didn't feel safe enough to sleep without vigilance, who learned that peace had a time limit. Healing doesn't mean forcing yourself to change. It doesn't mean sleeping in to prove something. It doesn't mean giving up the mornings you love. It means letting your body know it no longer has to earn peace. It means gently reminding your nervous system that safety isn't dependent on arrival time. That rest isn't something that can be missed. That nothing bad happens if you let go for a little longer. This takes time, and patience, and compassion that doesn't rush. Because the body learns safety slowly, through repetition, through experiences that contradict old beliefs, through moments where you rest, and nothing falls apart. You can still love the morning light, still greet the quiet with reverence, still savor that sacred pause before the world begins. But now you get to choose it, not need it, not cling to it. You get to wake early because it nourishes you, not because you're afraid of what happens if you don't. And on the days you sleep a little longer, you don't punish yourself. You don't panic. You don't interpret it as failure. You let it be what it is. A body trusting itself enough to rest. One day, you may notice something profound. That safety no longer lives only in the early hours. That peace follows you into the afternoon, into the evening, into the spaces that once felt heavy. And one day, whether you wake at dawn or late morning, whether the sun greets you or has already risen high, you'll know this. Rest is no longer something you have to arrive early for. It's already waiting for you.